Coach. Just of course the SEC is always strong, but it seems like this year it's about as deep as it's ever been. Just thoughts on the league as a whole right now entering SEC play.
Oh, I mean, it's always strong. I think that every year we prove that we're the strongest from top to bottom. And I think that just continues, like the play continues to elevate. So this year is no different. I think it's going to be, I'm really curious to see how it plays out. I don't know. I think it's always interesting to see the weekend matchups, and it's just such a high level of softball, and I don't know, pretty fun.
How nice is it to get into, I mean, y'all played so many games just on short turnarounds so far, but getting back to just the, in SEC play, having the 3-game series, how nice is that to kind of change the pace and really prepare for an opponent a little bit more?
Well, that piece is really nice. Just, getting prepped for one team and maybe 4, 5, 6 pitchers is very different, obviously, than getting prepared for anywhere between 3 and 5 opponents on the weekend. So it's give and take. I mean, the prep work is nice. These games are, really big games. And so it puts a lot of focus on the one, and they're all really tough. You have to grind them out. And so it's a give and take as we transition into this part of our season.
And then just what have you seen from Texas A&M? I know they were down in Clearwater as well, down in that invitational, but from just what all you watched of them this year, thoughts on them?
Well, they're incredibly athletic. They always have been. They have a new staff that is interesting to see how that's shifted and transitioned from an outsider's perspective. And I think they continue to get better every weekend as they probably get used to each other and kind of the new system. So we always have a tough battle with A&M, and I expect nothing different this weekend.
And then last thing from me is, of course, y'all have had a lot of success in SEC play the past 2 years. Just how nice is it to have some of those players who have really been through the grind to have on the team with a lot of these newbies who have not gone through the grind of the SEC?
Well, it's nice. It's nice to have a mix of both. I think that we benefit just as much of having the newbies and being really green to it as we do the veterans who have been there and done that. So I think it's been a pretty great balance so far, and I think that it'll hopefully serve us well in SEC play.
Thank you. That's all from me.
Porter?
Hey, Coach, just talk about coming into SEC play where you think you're ahead of schedule on some things, and where are some things that still need some improvement at this point where you thought coming into the season?
Where do I think we are? I do think that we are progressing nicely as a group. I think we obviously had a hiccup on Monday, but that's only a hiccup to anyone that's not paying attention to UCA. And quite honestly, just how our matchups have gone in the last few years. I think we've been able to squeak by, and it was a long time coming of them grabbing a game from us. But I think that was needed. I think that if we use that to our benefit, then it was a good lesson to learn. I do think that I like how we're competing. Going into this year, I felt like we're going to win some games we shouldn't. We're going to drop some games that we shouldn't. And I think we've done that. I just really like how this team has responded. I think we respond beyond our years. And so I like that piece. I think there's still a lot of figuring out with, certain pieces. I don't know that we have the full answer yet, but I sure like how they're competing more often than they're not. And then just continuing to settle in. This game can play tricks on you. So just continuing to just trust yourself and have confidence.
And speaking on Monday's game, for those who've been paying attention, UCA has been playing with the SEC teams for the past 2 or 3 years, and beating Georgia, beating LSU, and playing LSU to 1-0 this year. So I guess speak on what they've done at UCA, playing at a higher level than what a typical UCA school is.
Oh, well, I think Jenny and her staff do a great job. And David, prior to Jenny, I just think that they've always done a really good job of getting players that thrive in their system. I think they are excellent teachers of the game. And I think that they always have their kids well prepared and confident. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. So I just have a ton of respect for what they've done. I always have. And, you know, beyond that, what they do a really great job of is keeping their kids and keeping them happy. And I think that you can tell that those kids are bought into their system and love what they do.
And going into SEC season with your pitching rotation, have you kind of narrowed it down to a 3 or 4, or are you still open up to using all 5 on any given weekend?
Well, I think we're our strongest when we're using all 5. I do think obviously the 3 have separated themselves in terms of workload and innings, but the other 2 have been nice complements to kind of bridge one from the next, and we'll continue to do that moving forward.
And last thing for me, just, you know, with the struggles when you've really faced an elite pitcher, you know, what is the mindset going into the SEC series where you're going to be facing these type pitchers every single weekend?
Well, mostly a mindset of just being relentless. And I think that we've showed that more often than we haven't. I think that, you know, we have times where we don't get the timely hitting. That's softball sometimes. But just having more of a relentless mindset of just continuing to put the pressure on, even if they get us out, make sure that they feel our outs and feel our presence.
No, Reagan, just give us an idea of, you know, just the strength of this team on offense. Of, you know, a couple weeks ago we were talking to Ryland, just having a big weekend. You've stepped up and had a big weekend yourself last. So just coming into SEC play, just how important is it that any one of y'all can step up on any given weekend?
Yeah, I think it's really important to know that. And I know that we have that faith in each other. And I don't think that we've necessarily shown it that we can all step up. And I know I was struggling, and I know a few other of my teammates have been struggling at the plate recently. And that's something that we've all been working through. But knowing that we each are capable of stepping up and having that faith in ourselves and each other is something that's really going to help us in SEC. And I think once we find our role, we'll really get going. And I think we showed that a lot this weekend, started to come together on the offensive side.
And how big is that faith you talk about, that even though you're struggling, when you step in that batter's box, knowing the teammates behind you have your back, and that confidence knowing that just with one swing you can really get back in the groove?
I think it's really big. Softball is a big mental game, and so just having that confidence in yourself and your teammates, it's really going to carry us through the days that we're not necessarily feeling it at the plate.
And last thing for me, just going through, you know, the Razorback Invitational, Woo Pig, now you get to really focus in on a 3-game set against one team. How big is that in preparation, knowing that you can kind of just prepare for one team for a whole weekend?
It's nice, you know, we have had 2 days to prepare since we had the midweek on Monday, but just being able to scout them really well and know, have a better idea of what's coming, it helps us prepare a lot. And so we'll be ready on Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ethan?
Reagan, SEC Player of the Week, I believe. How was that?
It was great. It was good.
Just what was working for you last weekend, to, like, mentally, I guess, just to have that type of a weekend?
I just kind of have like a see ball, hit ball approach, but I've just been working through some things in the cage, and it kind of all clicked for me this past weekend. And so just hoping to continue that, have those good at bats to help the production for the team and whatnot.
And then, you know, y'all are entering SEC play now, and it's always a strong conference, but it just seems like this year it's really, like, it's deeper than it has been before. Just how how much of a challenge do you think it will be, and how and are y'all ready for it?
Yeah, I think we know that every SEC game is going to be most likely a top 20 matchup, top 25 matchup. So we're ready for that. We know the competition is going to be there each game, and so we can't come slacking at all in any aspect of the game, and we know that. And so we got to take advantage of if we see the other team slacking, and we have to keep our mental game strong and stay strong through all of our games, because if we're slacking at any point, we know the other team's going to take advantage of that as well.
And then last thing, of course, on Monday, the loss to UCA team was all disappointed. Just how has practice been since then?
We kind of just flushed it and moved on. We don't have much time to dwell on the past, knowing that we got first SEC series coming around. So we're just working on the things that we need to get better at, and we know that game on Monday wasn't us, so we didn't spend too much time thinking about it. Just moving on.
Do you have any other questions for Reagan? All right, Reagan, thank you for your time. You did
Thank
great.
you.
You're good to leave this too. I know you got class.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.